Now, here's your hosts, the League Dad, Kevin, Mitchell, and Alistair.
What's up, gamers, and welcome to another episode of the All In Podcast. I am the League Dad, and I am joined today by Kevin and Mitchell. Unfortunately, Alistair had class today, so he couldn't make it, and I've been gone for a while, but thank you guys for holding it down. I know Alistair was in an episode, but it's been such a long time, man, and I miss catching up and talking League with you guys, so I know we've had play-ins and, some League of Legends action happening, but I'd like to know how you guys are doing, how you guys are enjoying the play-ins so far. I think even back into the play-in or the qualifier between EU and NA, all of these things happening. So let me just get your thoughts, catch us up on how you're doing and how you've been enjoying the game so far.
Yeah, I think it's been a roller coaster so far. I think overall my enjoyment level play-ins was pretty high this time around. Usually it's all right. There's some good matches, a few upsets, right? Mad Lions lose, but that gets old after a while. So I'm glad they flipped the script a bit. The beginning, technically not the beginning play-ins, but the World Qualifying Series between us and BDS hurt really badly.
Yeah.
It's on a shit time, and I watched it and I was like, I have a headache now. Literally, I actually went to sleep with a headache. It sucked.
Dang.
So I don't know if it's from the match alone, but I'm sure it definitely affected it.
It was from the match.
But the rest was good. I think the new format was way better. Do you know how many of those best of threes would have just ended on a 1-0 if this was the old format? And then we would have been like, Team Wales is dog, or like whatever, BDS is a god team, whatever, right? No, I think the new format was a lot more interesting. The only thing that I have a slight issue with is just the ending where, the undefeated teams lost and got they just left. Wales and PSG both never lost a game until the end. And then in terms of a set. And once they lost their first series, they were out. And I was like, wait, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. But it was a best of 5. And they did prove to be weaker. So I was like, I'm not super hung up about it. If there was like a third spot that the two losers of that match could play for, I would be like perfect. But, they would have got smashed at Worlds. So it's fine. It was a very fun tournament. I have more thoughts, but that's my initial.
Yeah, I thought this was probably one of the more enjoyable play-ins we've had because I think Riot actually figured out just the right quality of play to match up. The 4th seed from NA and EU, I think, matches up perfectly with the wildcard regions. The 3rd seeds for years and years from NA and EU were just too good for play-ins. And Korean 4th seed, Chinese 4th seed were always too good. So they removed the Korean and Chinese seeds completely, and we got the 4th seeds instead. And I think that if GGS or BDS, who are obviously GGS didn't make it, but if GGS was able to beat BDS, they also probably would have struggled during this play-ins and had close series, and we don't know if they would have made it out. So I like that the power level was close, and it made me realize that it's a bummer that GGS left, but let's be honest, they would have struggled against PSG, they would have struggled against Team Wales, they would have, struggled against a lot of the teams there. And yeah, it was really, really close between the 4th seeds and the minor regions best seeds. So I like the format for that reason, and I'm just glad we got some close, fun games.
Yeah, for sure. I think the format has definitely helped. I know for me personally, I'm kind of like on the Alistair side of things. Like I don't really care that much about play-ins other than who's going to get in. So I haven't been hooked in yet, but I have been anticipating for such a long time for the start of the actual Worlds to start, and that's coming up on the 19th. So I'm excited about that. Before we jump into and recapping all the other action and possibly looking ahead, I do want to mention the new Worlds anthem, the song Gods, just because every year this is something that Riot hypes up, and for the most part, I mean, we've had some good songs, we've had some okay songs. So I got to ask your initial thoughts on this, and it was by New Jeans, which I know is a popular K-pop group. So I think they did a good job as far as like finding the right band or entertainers to do the song. But what are your thoughts on the song overall? I've seen mixed reviews on Twitter and on Reddit, but I wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, to preface, I mean, I've listened to K-pop when I was like in high school, I guess. I haven't really followed it for a long time. So I hear New Jeans are pretty good. I've heard a little bit of their music, and it was like pretty decent actually. I'll say the song though. I don't think whoever gave him direction gave him enough creative freedom. I think
Mm.
last year they gave him too much creative freedom to who did Star Walking again?
Lil
It
Nas
was Lil
X.
Nas
Lil
X,
Nas
yeah.
X. Yep. He got a lot of freedom with that song, so it didn't necessarily fit Worlds. I think this one fit a bit better, like relatively speaking, but it would just I'm not looking for like a rise kind of like hype like note or anything. I'm just looking for anything to progress in the song. And to be
Mm.
honest, it felt like a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, like well produced, well timed, but not the direction just wasn't there. The animation was good. I think it was like an 8 out of 10 for me. I think that I really like that it was just one person's story from beginning to end because all the other stories were always like a snapshot in time usually, right? You know,
Mm.
like last year's worlds. And if you miss last year, it's like whatever. But if you followed Dev's career, this was super hype. It's just
Yeah.
wish the song fit that.
Yeah.
So as always, the animation very rarely misses at Riot, and I will continue to give them compliments for it until they start cheaping out on that too. Then it's doomed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard that the Star Walking song from Lil Nas X it wasn't just like creative freedom, it was literally just a Lil Nas X song that he
Mm.
gave to Riot and was like, I already made the song. We're just gonna make it a League of Legends song. Which is why I think it was kind of
uh,
controversial and why it didn't sound like an anthem at all.
Yeah.
It just sounded like a normal song. I mean, it's not like it's a bad song, but it was
yeah,
not a League of Legends song. I
I
definitely
can
think
remember
this
the song still, so there's that.
that's
Yeah.
true.
It's
Yeah,
true.
it's not a bad song. I mean, it was fun. But this song, yeah, it was definitely like I don't know. The video of it was cool and the song was cool, but it like was almost exactly like Rise. I felt like they just did everything they could to copy like and because Ambition was like the main character of the Rise. The song sounds the same. Rise, Gods, like the all the timing and tempo. So yeah, for me, it was like this is cool, but I still like Rise better. And the
Yeah.
video was cool, but I still like Rise better.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, it was all right.
I
Marcus D had
think
a ton of thoughts on the
he
dive about
did.
it. He went real deep in it too. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I actually agreed with Mark's opinion on this one just because, I have a lot of background in music and music writing and
Mm.
songwriting and
Did not.
dynamics and the song creation process. And I will admit, it's a good song. Like, it's a catchy song. It's got a good melody. It's got some of that hype build up, right? Like some of the drops where you're like, it pauses for a second, then it drops. Like, that's a
Hmm.
lot of what League of Legends songs do, like even in Rise, they had that kind of like moment, like in between the choruses, right before it hits. There's like a little pause and then it drops and it's really banging, right? And then, and I feel like the songs are kind of meant to try to hype people up, it is kind of gets you that hype type feeling. I think the problem is that it sounds so formulaic nowadays, almost as if they're saving the same sounds that they've been using for all the other songs, and maybe that's on purpose. Maybe they wanted to have a unique, like, oh, that's a League of Legends song, right? But
Hmm.
I think it just hasn't had some of the crazy hype dynamics that like Rise had. And to be fair, Rise was such a good song and such a good animation to go with it that it's really been hard to live up to those expectations. I mean, I think even Legends Never Die and Phoenix, like those were good songs, but they were all kind of the same note, and I feel like this falls along that same stream with kind of being a catchy melody. It doesn't really go too high in octaves as far as the singing. So the singing is all very in the same range. Not a lot of like really belting it out and like giving these like loud things where like in Rise you hear the screaming, and it's kind of like putting that emotion into the song. There's not that in here, and so it's very like, like I want to get hype for it. I'm waiting for it to get hype, but the song just kind of stays the same. And it's a good song, but it's just not hitting like it used to. And maybe we've just
Yeah.
gotten spoiled, but
You've heard it too many times.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that I Rise is not my favorite anthem. It's up there, but it's not my favorite.
What's
So I was like
yours?
seeing a lot of comments where Rise is the favorite. Mine is Warrior.
Oh, I
Okay.
like that one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Warriors was
good.
my favorite. I
It's
think
because we're
that
old. We like the old
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
I mean I like the song. I just think that
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was the most League of Legendy song. Rise is a really good song. My only issue with it is that I think it's almost one note. I think it has a really great drop. It's super memorable. Everyone remembers, right? And I
Hmm.
think the animation was legendary, which really escalated it. But like, if you actually listen to the song, I wouldn't listen to the song by itself.
Yeah.
And that's not a fair way to judge it. It's an anthem for worlds.
Sure.
Obviously, it's for worlds. But for me, I'm just like, I don't boot up Rise when I'm just chilling or just trying to listen to music. Even when I'm playing games, I really rarely boot it up. But Warriors,
Yeah.
like, it's still in my playlist.
I
Yeah.
mean, to be honest, like all the League of Legends song, if I listen to one of them, I just listen to all of them. That means I'm in a League of Legends song
That's a
like
good point. Yeah, I do that
bro.
too.
Like it's
Yeah.
like so I think when you look at like Eugene's song Gods, like it'll fit perfectly in
Sure.
that
Yeah.
mode, like where I'm like I just put on the League of Legends playlist, I play some games, I just listen to
Mm.
all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if I'm being honest, I don't listen to any of them like just on their own.
By
Like if I listen
itself.
to I gotta listen to all of them,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where I'm
And you know
at.
what's funny is that I usually pull out that playlist right around now. So it's like
Yeah.
I heard Gods and I was like, you know what? Let me put this in the playlist and start listening to all the other League of Legends songs. And yeah, I still enjoy it. Like even some of the KDA stuff, like the Pop Stars and whatever the other ones are, I can't remember the names, but I still listen to them. Like Giants, I still like
Oh
that.
yeah, Giant.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Damage was it called?
Yeah, True Damage. Yeah,
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 that was a good. That was a band.
yeah.
I do have a little thing. I don't know if you guys follow like the Marvel like movies and stuff,
Hmm.
but I'm
Uh-huh.
getting the feeling that like Riot is going down the road where they've been a big franchise that has been a long time and has huge fan base. They're becoming
Uh-huh.
Marvelified, where they're just kind of repeating the things that they thought had success,
Mm,
trying to make them a little bit better, and then people are like,
Mm.
"That's the exact same thing that you guys did earlier," and it's
yeah.
like not as good because it's not unique. I feel like that has been a trend for a lot of things. Like I don't know, it's a conspiracy theory, but like they brought back Static Shiv, and I was like,
Yeah.
nostalgia. Then
Yeah.
they did
Yeah.
this music video, more nostalgia. Like they're having Faker just dominate all of the the promo images. Like the new League client has Faker's image. I'm like with
Mm,
Zed on it and stuff. I'm like they're really going for this nostalgia bait hard. And I feel like this is what happens when you
mm.
have a 14-year franchise and most of your fan base are like old geezers like us.
Yeah, I mean, you're right in a sense that I mean that's just not exclusive to League of Legends. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole nostalgia, bring it back type things, the reboots, like that's everywhere, right? Because
Live
they know
action
they can
remakes.
remake.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Disney.
It's
Yeah,
all Disney,
it's
Disneyfied.
all,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
but it's
Marvel
crazy
Disney.
that with the life of a gamer, like yeah, 14 years, like yeah, you got some old fogies like us on there that you can kind of bring some of those things back and it'll get us. But I wonder though too if that's a warning sign that like, hey, we need to keep our old school diehard fans because maybe they're not remember we saw before they were really trying to heavily way into the new getting new viewers, new players, and all of these things, whereas we were kind of like, what's going on? But it does seem like lately they've been indexing towards trying to keep some of us diehard LCS gamer fans in there with all the nostalgia, but not just that, but bringing all the casters into the the broadcast and finding more ways to entertain us like as a target market. I
Mhm.
definitely kind of noticed that too.
I mean, I think the breaking point was when they not ruined, but they moved the time zone right? Where they were
Mm-hmm.
trying to get more EU fans, and then I think they were in panic mode ever since then. They were like, "Wow, we isolated our core demographic here, and we focused too much on the data. The data said, oh yeah, there were EU watchers, but maybe we ignored the fact that it was like right after EU LCS or LEC.
Yeah.
What broadcasted? It was LCS. Obviously, there were EU watchers, and there were probably a lot of them, right? So once you divorce those, they're like, oh wow, we didn't like we just looked at numbers like we do for ARAM balance. We just looked at numbers in
Yeah.
isolation and didn't use context. So
Had to throw that in there really quick.
Yeah.
I don't know
Had
why.
to.
It's just sometimes I get hit by Jin from like the 10th time in a team
Uh-huh.
fight from Axiom Arc, and I'm thinking to myself like, is this
No.
okay, Riot?
Yeah.
So anyways, I'll just say I think they've been in panic mode ever since, and they've been catering toward us, the old fans, which is good for us. And they just need to figure out that balance again, right? They can't forget their old fans because it's really hard to re-earn them, and they're the ones who are keeping the scene alive. You can
Yeah.
keep a game like Melee, Smash Melee, or a lot of old games like StarCraft One. StarCraft One still has a league right now. It's because the
Mhm.
core fans still believe in it, and it's a great game.
Yeah.
So League isn't a bad game, but they can't just keep going after the new players and
Mhm.
just forget about us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's got to be a
they're
balance.
just really just feels like they're throwing stuff at the wall over and over again, seeing what sticks, and it's like everything's kind of sliding off the wall at the same time. Like I don't know what to chase, I don't know what to keep up.
Yeah.
Sorry, but we did mention ARAM, and I have to mention it really quick. If you've been playing League of Legends like uh post patch 13.20, uh another ARAM build has finally reached League of Legends, and that is Lethality Caitlyn. is full on
Oh,
like 57% win rate.
yeah, that
Literally
is fun.
I
I
knew
played
it.
I've played 10 ranked games all day yesterday. I spammed ranked because I had free time and I wanted to try the new patch. All 10 games had lethality Kate. Like
Yep.
either it was played or I was banning it. Like it is being spammed all the time. And that's straight from ARAM. That's a decade old ARAM build right
Oh
there.
yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is funny that it is finally leaking. We had on hit LeBlanc, we had Kaisa, we now it's Caitlyn. God
Yeah.
damn
It's
it.
it is pretty funny. Like I've been seeing a lot of it as well, even in like mid lane, bot lane. I mean, it just an
Oh yeah.
ARAM. It's super fun. Every time I get it, I'll play it. Lethality,
So
Caitlyn.
OP, man. I
I've
love
seen.
playing it.
I don't know if this is good,
So
but
stupid.
in ARAM at least, I've tried and I've seen Lethality Jinx where you max W
Oh yeah,
and you
that's
just
good. That's actually strong. Yeah.
it's actually really fun. I don't know if how viable it would be in like Summoner's Rift, but for sure in ARAM it's a ton of fun. But what are your thoughts? Have you is that viable
Yeah,
or is that
so
just
the
an
thing
ARAM
is they
build?
changed the alt recently.
Uh,
The
Yeah.
with that new passive interaction, the alt is also better now. I think it was either lower cooldown or more damage. Whatever it is,
It's
lethality just
both.
works better, right? So it's
mm,
both. You can literally use it for poke. Like they're full health,
yeah,
you just poke them, and then you hit them 25 or 35, whatever seconds later, depending on if you took ulti on turn. You
yeah.
take Axiom Mark, then yeah, you can literally ult twice in a fight, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
The only reason lethality Jinx I think might not come in, while Caitlyn makes a lot of sense. Caitlyn's ult got like almost like 50% more damage or whatever it was a while back.
Hmm.
So obviously it makes sense with lethality. The only reason Jinx might not go with lethality is because her current passive is so conducive for a crit build.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when you
It's getting
pop off,
nerfed.
yeah, it's getting
It's
nerfed. But
getting
like
hard.
right now, if you log in, guys, right after you
Oh my
listen
god,
to the
so
podcast,
broken.
yeah, lethality is fun and really good on Jinx, but the problem is there's a more broken build. It's
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
that's
4.4 plus, or what is it? The 10x attack speed Jinx front page thing. I was like, someone's
yeah.
like, this isn't a real problem, guys. This wouldn't actually happen again. I'm like, the fact that it can happen
Yeah.
is a problem, guys. The Zeri
Yeah.
was the same thing. People were like, oh, Zeri can't in a real pro game. She couldn't like get unlimited move speed and kite forever. And then you watch actual games where she does that after the nerfs, and you're just like, oh, it was a problem.
Yeah.
Maybe we
Mm,
shouldn't launch that.
Yeah.
yeah.
It was a big problem. This is definitely one of those things where they pushed the Jinx test without actually having a good Jinx player like play with them.
Mm,
Because as soon as you get one good Jinx player with these, you just go off. And I think
yeah.
the reason why lethality is still okay is because you just build a bunch of flat damage, no attack speed, but you get attack speed off your passive. All of a sudden, you have all this flat 80 damage boosted by your passive, and you just go crazy. I've been seeing
Yeah.
it too. I mean, the bans I've been switching back and forth are literally Jinx and Caitlyn every game because they're
Yeah.
they're the most contested in every elo. So
Yeah.
pretty broken. Love
Yeah,
balance.
I mean, and speaking of, let's stay on this patch 13.20 because there were some changes, especially in the jungle.
Oh
I know,
my god.
and they've changed a lot of the runes, right? So I kind of want to dig into that, even though it's not the world's patch, so we won't see all that stuff. It is pretty. It seems from what I've read, and I haven't played too much Summoner's Rift, just a lot of ARAM, but. It seems like there were some pretty significant changes, even in I think the gold of the turret plates, dragons the
Yep.
doing less, so Rift Herald not doing as much. So there's a lot of like macro things into the game as well, and then like I said, all the jungle and rune changes that affect the game holistically. I don't know the exact results of what's happening, so I wanted to see what you guys have been seeing or reading or hearing, and what are your thoughts so far with the patch dropping and all these changes being made? Do you see any sleeper like OPs because of this, or garbage picks now because of the changes? What are your thoughts?
I is it okay if I go
Yeah,
first? I
yeah,
played
go for
ranks
it.
literally 10 games yesterday.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And I played a bunch of jungle, played some support too. Yeah, my opinion is pretty much aligned. I think I wanted to honestly see if other people were being exaggerated or not. No, I played jungle. It is really nerfed. It is super hardcore nerfed. And the funny thing is, you're clearing way slower.
Yeah.
You're less healthy. You just have less damage. You're way lower in XP than all the laners in general. Lower gold, and yet you're still the most influential role. So I understand completely why they had to nerf jungle this hard.
Mm,
Because definitely I was still a very, very influential character, right, running around. But the problem was I don't think they fixed what they were trying to fix. I felt like I had to resort to spam ganking because I could not farm. I would
sure.
pick a
Yeah.
farming champion and try to farm, and I would fall behind too far from solo laners and stuff like that. And it wasn't worth it. So yeah, I just resorted back to spam ganking. So Riot made all these changes to make sure that the junglers ganked less and put them in the jungle, right? keep them in there. And what ended up happening is you 3 camp and you just gank over and over again. That's literally
Hmm.
how, like, any game that I won, it was because I spam ganked a ton over and over again. If I actually went to try and farm, I would get outpaced super hard. Another big thing also that they changed. This is important for players. If you go to shove a wave in with your laner,
Oh yeah.
you are just generally losing XP
Hmm.
overall. And so, yeah, you would get a kill, you gank somebody, you crash a wave with your laner, and they need it for their lane reset for tempo.
Hmm.
But they would actually be behind in XP. I would watch it and be like, oh, they're still behind the level. That's actually super weird. Even though we got a kill and they missed a wave. So yeah, they have to make some bigger changes. But those are my opinions on the jungle. Where I think the role feels really bad, but just because it's such a big departure from before,
Hmm.
where it was really OP. So I still think the role is really strong, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like it's just they emphasize tank ganking junglers even harsher, and that was already the meta. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Kevin, did you have
Um,
any thoughts on the on the jungle? Kevin was like, "I'm done."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'm done with the
My
jungle."
so I to me I don't think this is I think this is all like they're just testing stuff right now, so like that's why things are so uncapped. I think
yeah.
the real change though, and the thing where things start solidifying for next year is when they get those mythics out the door, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I actually think it's kind of weird that they already put these out and not with the mythic change. I guess they wanted to do it in stages maybe, or they haven't figured it out because it's such a huge overhaul and it's so game defining how the items will change. I mean, maybe they'll just change everything to all the mythics that become legendaries and like minus 10 AD, minus 10 AP. I don't know. Like
Mm.
maybe they just do that and it's boring. But I'm not like invested too much into this preseason except for abusing the broken stuff until then. I don't have any sleepers though. Besides, I think Briar is disgusting. I think that
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
everyone's
is.
been saying this, I guess, but if you actually, I had a few people say, "Oh, she can't heal." I'm like, "Have you ever played Briar? You touch a min and you heal
Oh
like
my
700
gosh.
health.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
it's not okay. That character
Yeah.
is not okay."
Yeah, I,
Um,
I I think Briar is the most OP champ on the patch by far, by a long shot. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she's really really powerful. So much so that even if I get the chance to play her, I refuse to play her because she's too broken. I feel guilty playing her.
you have
I love
principles,
playing
I
her.
see.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
love
do.
it.
Yeah, I mean,
Give me the
I just
OP champ.
I always shy away from like the most OP, and I'm like, let me get the second or third most OP champ. But some other things though that they're already adjusting is that all the runes except like Conqueror, Phase Rush, and First Strike, and maybe Grasp feel really terrible. Like you
Hmm.
never want to pick Electrocute. That's just garbage. Like Comet is super mediocre. Airy is fine. It's okay, but like Electrocute is super garbage. I feel like.
Mm.
So I feel like they need to adjust a little bit of the runes. Like Phase Rush, I think is too broken because it didn't get
Yeah.
any nerfs compared to all the other runes, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
those are the runes. Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. I guess I'm happy that it's not hitting worlds because then I think that would significantly change the
It
way
would be
people
so
play.
weird. Yeah,
But
I would
I'm
be so
also
pissed.
interested. I'm interested to find out what the new meta would be. You know, like how teams would adjust to that because, like I said, it's not just a couple of champion nerfs here and there. It's like holistic game changes that will change the way the game is played
Yeah.
on a macro level. And so
hmm
I'd love to see that. But again, it's still early. Like it's not even preseason yet,
I
right?
mean,
So
we're getting another patch in a week, like literally a week
exactly.
from tomorrow or something.
So
So it's gonna, and it has big skate changes too. If you
yeah.
guys want the sleeper pick, I saved it for the last of the end of the conversation. It's actually not a surprise to most people, but and it's a perfect segue to Worlds. It's Garen top with Ignite
Oh
with
yeah.
Phase Rush. It's
Phase rush.
literally
Yeah.
Adam's exact build. It is super super
Yeah.
broken in solo
Yeah.
queue. Yeah, you go Phase Rush, you go
Yeah.
Ignite, and you just spin on them. And actually, so Garen used to be kind of a lane bully, like way back in the day. You know, he used to be like bully up and mess up with other melees. No, you're a scaling champion now. You actually,
Mm-hmm.
the way you play early game is, I've been following like how Garen players and like Master Tier and Grandmaster Plus play. They AFK and play very very safe the first few levels, and then when they hit level 6, they just flash on you and like kill you from 100 to 0, and then they AFK and they just wait for their summoners. Like they're literally like, you're just every 5 minutes you're a one shot machine, and then you just farm. You proxy, you run around and do nothing but farm, and it's like, this is kind of toxic, no?
Yeah.
And then I played a couple of games of it, and yeah, I would flash on people, 100 to 0 them, they could not get away, and just kill them from full. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. I
Yeah.
I stick that person got stick stayed.
When you said phase rush, so like I've been playing Garen for a long time in ARAM. Like I just enjoy playing because it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And then I watched Adam. I was like, oh, so instead of Conquer, I should go phase rush, and instead of defensive boots, just go Berserker Greaves, guys.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep.
Like you're just there for a fun time, not a long time.
Yeah,
Like
fun time.
I like dropped like 25 the game right after I tried that. I was like, oh, this is absurd.
Yeah.
Like, and with phase rush, you just spin around like at Mach 2. Like they can't stop you. So as long as you hit your W correctly, like you can even win in team fights, right?
It's
Mm.
yeah.
All that to say is like I don't know if we're getting into this conversation yet, but Adam has been so funny at Worlds.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I saw someone comment like the Asian teams like have never seen a Garen in their life, so they sit there and they just like, what am I supposed to do?
What do I
against this
do?
shit?
Yeah.
And then the Western teams have seen it, but they still think they can beat it, so they pick Garen Renekton for the 15th time in a row and lose.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't believe this has happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty funny how like, champs like that were considered lane bullies, like Pantheon comes to mind too, where known for being super strong early and then not so great late, but now is a pretty good champion late game now too. So it's interesting how that kind of shifts certain play styles on certain champions. But let's move on. Real quickly before again we jump into the world stuff, I just briefly wanted to touch base on the LCS because as you know, TSM's gone and a Shopify rebellion. But I was I was watching a video by Travis, and he was just talking about some of his predictions based on what he's heard around his sources and stuff. And one of the things he was talking about is that there might be a few more teams departing the LCS. And
Oh shit.
yeah, I mean, just he wasn't sure. Like he said, teams that could possibly leave are 100 Thieves, Dignitas, what was it, Immortals, and Golden Guardians. So
Oh shit.
so there's a lot of stuff going on here, and then just talking about like even salaries are super low. We know Santorin retired. I mean, I don't know
Oh,
if you guys
yeah,
mentioned
Santorin
that. So he
retired,
retired. So I guess the whole thing was like all these pros that have been kind of sticking around, maybe deciding to retire now since there might not be any money in it. People might be making more money streaming, and so this might change the whole landscape and almost like we are fully, like I know we've been saying fully reset, like this might be the real real reset where there's no more exports at all, or imports, excuse me, and all just like the native grown like collegiate or amateur player trying to make it in the LCS. So real quickly, I mean, what are your thoughts just on the state of LCS and this possibility that a lot of orgs could be pulling out? We might see a lot of pros leave. Like I know Double Lift is up in the air again, and all of these things. But yeah, give me your thoughts, because I mean Prince is gone. Who was the mid laner that sucked really bad?
Yeah,
Come on,
Vicla's gone.
there it is,
Yeah, Lockout's,
Vikla.
yeah.
So yeah, give
Say
me.
Gory, because I was like, Gory is also had
That's true.
terrible last 2 months apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't
So,
heard from him yet.
I mean, I don't know. Just
I mean,
real quick, yeah, I just want to get your thoughts on kind of the state of that. Like, does
Yeah,
that freak
give
you
us your
out or what?
I mean, we're the LCS podcast, right? So of course
Yeah.
we're gonna give thoughts on this. I mean, if no one else cares in the world, we're still here.
We're still here. Dang it.
I mean, I've heard from some of the bigger podcasts, they're like, no one does LCS only content. I'm like, no, we've been doing it for 4 years,
Yeah.
without stopping. But here's the thing: this could be only good news in some ways because, sorry, let me rephrase. In a lot of very important areas, it can be only good news, and the important areas are teams need to have a drive again, players need to have a drive again. You're gonna see magically a lot of these people start making content and streaming their asses off, and we might monetize some scrims. Like there will be little things like that, right? Show matches, which have been popping off in Europe for the longest time. So NA
Yeah.
sitting here on their asses and not letting Mr. Beast and Bjergsen collab, and all the other pro players collab, is just asinine, right? They can't do that anymore. The money's not there, right? They don't have that giant cushy paycheck to pay them off. So
Yeah.
when was NA the most competitive? It was basically when we were just poor as dirt, dude.
Yeah.
Except for when Liquid was going like 3-3 and stuff and got to MSI finals. Besides that, one time, most of our like TSM rosters, the old C9 roster, the CLG roster in 2015, they were poor as dirt, dude. Like, yeah, TSM was the richest of them, but I think some of like the what was it, Unforgiven getting 300k, 200k for being in academy. That rumor that's probably closer to like the second best player on TSM getting paid that much, or maybe Bjergsen was getting that much, right? If I
Yeah.
had to speculate. So all I have to say is I'm excited that we will be kicked in the ass and forced to do stuff, but I am terrified that we're also on the brink of collapse if
Yeah.
people still don't wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take the Doomer take. Yeah, I don't want 100 Thieves to leave for sure. Don't want
Hmm.
that to happen. That sucks. They were perennially second place for like what feels like forever.
Yeah.
um, and then they did pick up double lift, so that would suck. Golden Guardians leaving. I mean, I would have been okay with that up until basically this year.
Yeah.
They seemed pretty legit, but
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Immortals and Dignitas leaving is like, you know, how many
That's
times
yeah.
have they
Who
left and come
cares?
back? Like a
Exactly.
million times. I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, I hope, I hope that it happens how Kevin says it, where it's like, yeah, people get a wake up call and be like, the players and teams that do stay and are here, and like Shopify Rebellion and NRG, right? NRG just won, and that's great. They have 20 coaches and they kept half a roster. It seems like Energy, they came in, they had a really good plan and it worked, and then they won LCS, one split.
Yeah.
And I hope that the new orgs that we get do something similar and they can really show us that they're trying something, because Energy gave me a lot of hope that new orgs coming in can be impactful and interesting and good. But if you lose like too many at once, right? We lost one this year. We lost two at the total at the end of
Yeah.
the year. If we lose a couple more next year, right? Like, we have no idea what the hell is going to happen. It's going to be complete chaos. I have no idea. We don't even know if LCS is going to exist next year. Maybe, I don't know. Like, what if all these teams leave and no one replaces them? Like, what do we
Yeah.
do then? So
I mean, and to be fair, like it doesn't mean necessarily that the rosters will all be gone. Like the orgs could just absorb the rosters, like NRG did pretty much. But yeah, no,
yeah.
I totally see what you're saying.
But like, what
Chaos.
if what if what if Immortals or Dignitas they leave and they sell their spot and they get like a team that comes in and they literally just like, I don't know, like, don't do anything, don't care, just the same. And it's like, instead of having like two teams, Immortals and Dignitas, not really caring, what if we just have four teams that add in, that just come in, don't care? Maybe like the other teams bought out at a lower price because they're just trying to get out, right? 10 million buyout is totally worth it to bring down to 5 million, just so that they don't have to keep bleeding money into a roster, right? Like, who knows what kind of deals people could make behind the scenes
Yeah.
to like just get the hell out, because for all we know, every single org in the LCS scene is bleeding money 24/7. So
Oh yeah.
if you have to, lose 5 million in cash to not bleed money every day, it might be financially worth it for you to sell out to some company that doesn't care.
Yeah.
Especially if four teams do it at once. So a total of six teams from 2023 to 2024.
That'd be
So
nuts.
if we get six teams all at once, we could get a huge shift in literally everything that we know.
Yeah.
Um, so
It's kind of like it's kind of exciting, but also scary because it could be good, like Kevin was saying, or it could be like the opposite and things just
yeah,
collapse, and that would be
yeah.
terrible. But
But you know what? It's gonna be good. It's fine.
it's
It's gonna be
fine.
great. It's gonna
Hey,
work
we'll
out.
still be here. We'll
Yeah,
still be. We may be the
just like
last
GGS
three,
one.
the
Yeah,
last three or four with Alistair, but we'll still be here. You know what I'm saying?
we'll be here.
The only concern you should have for LCS, in my opinion, is if Riot starts posting huge losses. Like they just stop making money off of
Yeah.
League, Valorant. They just don't have money. As long as that's all around, they're gonna keep their pet project alive. This is the same reason it's been in LA for so long, right? Like, is this the best place to host a major league? No,
Mm.
but it's super expensive and it's next to the Riot headquarters, so they can have rioters just go over and have their little, basically, pet project there, right?
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, it is a vanity project at this point.
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is right. It might be
Yeah.
giving marketing still, but like at this point, I mean, these days you don't need to have it in pro play because pro play is not where the eyes are, right? That where the eyes are is like it's another Seraphine skin, it's another Lux skin, it's
Yeah.
another whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's
And
true.
then Valorant, like I heard some stats about Valorant recently. It's like the biggest it's ever been, like ever. It's
Wow.
huge. Valorant
Mhm.
is freaking massive, and you know what? It's young people that like Valorant. It's rough, guys.
I
It's
wonder
rough. We're
too
all a
if
bunch
it's
of
just
boomers.
yeah, but that's the other thing. I wonder too if it's just a meta shift of like the gamers nowadays, like in the game prime gaming ages, are back into the first person shooter type deal or like the Valorant style deal with loadouts and different strategies in that way. And it's MOBA was when League of Legends came out. That was a new genre, right? Like that wasn't a thing. But I know that I've tried to get like my young son. He's only like 10, but to him it's too slow and it's too boring, and he'd rather play these fast first person shooter games. And that just might be where the new gaming generation is at. Like the League just
It's
might not be their
TikTok,
tea.
man.
Yeah,
It's
TikTok.
YouTube
It's
Shorts. It's
yeah,
like I need instant gratification yesterday.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
So
I see it all the time with
I'll
the young
push back a little bit. Like a
those
lot of these
youngins.
platforms driven by youngins, like yeah, they're popular. You know, Snapchat's very popular still amongst kids. They don't make shit for money, guys. Like that's like the whole myth, right? Like, oh, we have all the kids. But the real key to making a lot of money is keeping those kids when they grow into like working adults who have an income. And then that's when they're very valuable, right? So Valorant's extremely popular right now.
Yeah.
But not a lot of those people are, well, actually a decent amount are like in their 20s, right? But not a lot of people are like 30, 40, like well into
That's
their
where League of
careers,
Legends is
right?
at, I feel.
Right. And so
Yeah.
like that's the thing, right? That's why
Yeah.
when you isolate your old core fans that who've grown up, right? Did
Yeah.
their 10 years, they started in high school or college, now they're working, they have like they might be like working up, moving up in their lives or whatever. You kicking those guys out so you can get new zoomers is dumb as shit.
Yeah.
In terms of long-term sight, right? Because you just think, oh yeah, we have them hooked, they'll always stay with us, right? And maybe they will, maybe they still buy skins or whatever, but that's just very silly. And I don't think MOBA is the issue. Pokemon Unite is really popular amongst young people.
Hmm.
Even though it's like a silly gotcha game. Well, it's not as popular now because of bad management, but when it launched, it's a gotcha mobile game that's a MOBA, right?
Yeah.
MOBA's not the issue. It's the decisions they made to keep League addictive. The
Mm.
MMR system, the rank system being extremely annoying, right?
Yeah.
Just to force you to stay addicted for a long time. They finally fixed it recently, but the damage has been done. Most people don't queue up for ranked the same way they used to, right? A
Oh,
lot
that's
of the
true.
rank grinders don't do it anymore because it's just toxic. Up until recently, you had to do all the series, you had to do like a best of five for your stuff, and
Oh
then
gosh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
system is also built around ranks and MMR, right? Which has always been asinine. We've always been complaining about since
Yeah.
season 2 and 3 when they implemented, got rid of Elo. And so people would just be like, why am I in a game with a bunch of silvers? But I'm
Hmm.
plat. I'm like, well, you've been losing a lot, man.
Yeah.
But,
Mm.
or they've been winning a lot and they're smurfing, right? So Riot never fixed these. They wanted the game to stay addicting, and that's the cost, right? In the short term, it is more addicting, but in the long term, people burn out hard and never come back.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, at least.
All right. So what I'm hearing is we need League of Legends 2. Just start over
Well, here's
completely.
no. I
Just
was
new
thinking
game.
about this.
League of Legends
Check
2.
this out. You know how WoW after a while came out with just WoW vanilla and it went back to
Yeah.
the old.
Oh, that
I
sucks, dude.
feel
Yeah.
like they should do a League of Legends, but bring it back to when
Oh,
like there
League
was
Vanilla,
so League
I'm
vanilla,
down.
but like you could have different like iterations of it, like in the different crazy metas. You know what I mean? Like that were there, or the different times like champions were reworked. I think that would be fun. But also, I will say. I'm excited for one of the new things that I saw they're coming out with is the kind of the quick queue mode where
Yeah.
it eliminates champ select altogether, like, and it's going to replace blind pick. I kind of like that idea because there are times when I do just want to try a champ out, and I want to try to win. But going through champ select and then it might get banned, and especially if it's off meta, right? And then you play a game and it's just troll. And I think they said they would even lower the surrender requirements and stuff like that. Like, that to me seems fun because one of the perks that I love about ARAM is that it's like quick. You jump in a game, you're done, right? Like in 30 minutes or less. And I think if you could bring a queue like a predetermined kind of you just fill in your criteria and jump in the game right away with no champ select, I think that would be pretty sweet. And if it doesn't work out, people can just,
Not play it like they don't play blind pick anyways.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, maybe it's something, I'm hopeful for it because playing ARAM, I've played a bunch of different champs now, and I want to try some of them in Summoner's Rift, but I'm not willing to spend like an hour, in like just a normal draft to try to get it and
True.
try it. So
I guess the problem with League for that is even if you have blind pick into that and you like cut out all that extra, like you're cutting out maybe like 5 to 10 minutes on average, right?
Yeah.
Blind pick versus draft is that you're cutting out 5 to 10 minutes, but you could still get sucked into a 45-minute game in a blind
It's
pick game
true.
because it's still League of Legends on Summoner's Rift.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you want to potentially commit to a 45-minute game, but you're at less of an advantage because you didn't go through the draft phase, and then now you didn't get to ban a champion, and now you're stuck playing against a stupid champion for 45 minutes. And I feel like that's my personal reason, and why a lot of people will never touch blind pick is
Yeah.
because there's 4 to 5 champions that you have to ban, and if you end up playing against them, you are terrible. You're
Yeah.
miserable. And if you don't play them on your team, you're miserable. And that's why people play draft only. Like blind pick is probably one of the most dead drafts modes out there,
It's
or
true.
dead modes
Yeah.
out there. So my the solution already existed in my opinion, and it was Nexus splits or it was rotating game
Right.
modes. Like
Rotating game
I
modes.
I feel like if they just kept Nexus splits on there, and even if their numbers say nobody plays it, just leave it there, man. Like ARAM as a community
Sure.
definitely grew over
Yeah.
years and years of time. It was very, very tiny at the beginning, just like Nexus Splits was, but it had a lot of interest. It had a lot of conversation on social media. You just had to let it grow, but they cut it out after a few months and they never like let it stay. Maybe it's resource dependent, resource heavy, but like if Riot wants to cater to like 20-minute game but not ARAM, want to pick your champion and just have fun, get and go, like you can't have it on Summer's Rift. Like innately that map is
Has
just
to be,
too
yeah,
slow.
something else.
So you got to make just Nexus
Well,
splits or
did you
zero
see?
annoying.
Did you see that this could be also bad for us ARAM players? Is that I think one of the punishments now or something is like if you get
Oh,
banned
we already
or
talked about this.
oh, you already
Yeah, yeah,
did.
they changed it. Yeah,
They changed
it's
it.
no longer
Okay.
ARAM. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Good. Thank God,
yeah.
because I heard that and I was like,
It already affected us. It already sucked. It was
okay,
kinda-
so I must have missed that. I'm happy about that. Okay.
Yeah, and
You got lucky.
they already fixed it. They already reverted
Was
it.
it bad? Was it bad as they were saying it was gonna be?
I mean, I don't know. All I can tell is literally all of my games, whatever I queue in, have been more toxic. Period.
Okay.
So
I did
can't
notice a
really
few more
tell.
toxic ARAM games where I was like, this is interesting. Like people were
I think it's
really
just this
mad.
time of year. End of season is coming.
True.
Worlds is coming. More people are playing in general. ARAM, Summoner's Rift, normal draft, ranked has
It's
all
all
been
gonna be
so
toxic.
much more toxic. It is
Ah.
literally crazy. Like yesterday, I played ranked, right? I'm at
Yeah.
like I'm honor 5. I'm at like flat 4, but I play mostly against emeralds. Half of my games had some dude running it down, and it's just I win with those people on my team, and I lose because of those
Yeah,
people. Like,
yeah.
I was baffled. I was like, this is literally every single game, guys. It's
Yeah.
every single game.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a beautiful thing, beautiful time of the year with League of Legends where everybody's
yeah.
just more toxic and and it just gets worse and worse. That's the life of a league player. But let's go ahead and move on to Worlds now.
Wait, Worlds? Oh my god.
It
No
is
way.
happening. Yes, it is happening. Let's talk about play-ins real quick. So, any surprises with what you saw? I mean, what did you think of the teams? Again, I didn't pay too much attention to it other than who was moving on. And I did watch a couple of games that people were saying were pretty hype. Like, I forget what, I think it was BDS and somebody where the game just went super long. But I don't even know. What were your thoughts on play-ins overall and just... Any good things out of there? Any sleeper picks maybe that you saw that might be good in heading into the Swiss stage?
Yeah, so I watched every game, every match, the whole thing.
Sheesh.
I did.
That's a
I don't
fan
know.
right there.
Kevin Sheesh. Yeah.
Kevin Sheesh. Oh, I like
Always
that. That's a good one.
and that's where I am. But so what I noticed was that I thought Team Wales was really good. I thought like usually the second seed like Saigon Buffalo or whatever comes out of Vietnam, I was like, oh, it's just like the memers, but memers too, right? Like Levi was on the second seed team back in the day,
that.
and I was like, yeah, they're like they're still good, but they're just not like solid as a team. Team Wales was like, I mean, okay, their game ones are usually dog, but their second games, I was just like, wow, this team just like they just like batten down the hatches. They have decent rotations. They have good mechanics. There's like Binjay is legit. IMO Artemis is legit. I'm like, wow, these are some really good players. How the hell did they lose? And then they got to the match against Scam, and then I was like, oh my god, they lost their minds. Their whole soul just left their body.
Yep.
It is the classic when you meet your nemesis, you play like like an absolute monkey. Everything that you do fundamentally correct, you doubt. You remember you get like at that 1,000-mile stare where you're like, oh my god, I remember all the times I've lost in game 5, right? It was
No.
basically Baby T1 is what I'm saying. That's what it was. So they were really fun. I love their like whole storyline. I love the whole BDS roller coaster where BDS smashed them. Adam smurfed the hell out of them, and I was like, wow, that was rough. And then the next two, so they're like 5-0, right? They just beat GGS 3-0. I'm like, oh, wow, these guys are legit. They might do some damage. And then they got
Hmm.
smashed. Like Wales was like playing super well. They came back from a bad state against BDS, which is impressive. And I was really impressed. I want to see these players on maybe a better team, but I want to at least see this team grow, right? Besides that, I was very surprised that PSG Talon was as good as they were up
Yeah,
until their
that's true.
match against BDS, where once again, I think that was one of the most indicative matches I've ever seen of like just pick your goddamn picks and
Mm.
stop caring about the meta. Like, why is Adam playing Renekton? Like every time I see Renekton, it just loses, especially in his hands. He's not even bad at it. He gets his leads like he needs to. But I'm like, no, man, just like screw it all. Just play your stupid dogs, gods, whatever it is, right? And he did.
No.
And like the script ordained, he picked Garen, Olaf Darius in some order, and he won every match. And it
Yep.
was like he was impactful in at least two of the three, like guaranteed. And I'm sitting there like, this is like you just can't make this shit up. You really can't. I don't think he's lost a single game on his stupid picks.
No, he hasn't.
Um,
He has
and
not.
they're not always banned either. They're
Hmm.
not. Um,
No.
the last thing I wanted to mention is Crowny's been dog shit.
Yeah, he has.
Up until like the final match that qualified them, he has been playing so much below. Like he carried this team to Worlds, and he has been playing absolutely like an interdog. He eat forward on Ezreal and then flashed immediately while being tethered by LeBlanc in his like match against Wales. And I was like, who does that? Like
Gotta love it.
That's like some bronze shit. And like bronze players would feel ashamed for doing that. So he was really inting. He was close to killing LeBlanc was still full health after the EL. So he was really bad. But he did bait everyone to think he couldn't play Kaisa until the finals of the qualification, right? Where he played
Yeah.
that super cringe, super ARAMmy Dustblade Kaisa build,
Oh yeah.
and you're not even playing Kaisa at that point. You're just playing an assassin that's named Kaisa. So I guess he still doesn't know how to play Kaisa, but all I have to say is BDS is super fun, super interesting. I love that everyone's cheering for him. Everyone loves like these random ass picks, right? And he's playing the super flashy ones too. And I think that the stigma against characters like Malphite, against characters like Blitzcrank, against characters like Garen, the ones that were all Bronzodia tier characters back
Hmm.
in the past, it's falling off slowly. Like people finally start picking Malphite when it makes sense to shut down four ADs, right? People
Hmm.
start picking Blitzcrank when it just hard counters certain enchanters, right? Uh, it's just like we just gotta stop calling characters like e-girls or noob champions when they just win. If Garen wins, it
Yeah.
wins, dude. It's a percent missing health true damage execute. Like, what do you want?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's some great points. I definitely think Garen, for sure, of that list, is one of those champions that we could see elsewhere in this tournament from other teams. Like, think about it and try it out because even though you can't really take TP on it, right? I don't think you can play Garen this big Garen build and take TP. You have to take Ignite, but it is so uninteractive how good it is. Like you cannot beat 100 to 0 one shot on a late
Oh
game
yeah.
carry. You just can't beat that. It's like doesn't matter if you fell behind, doesn't matter if you lose so much pressure from TPing. If you get to the mid game and Garen flashes on somebody, that dude dies from 100 to 0
Yeah.
and they can't get out of it. I think that's good enough to see more play in the rest of the world tournament. It's a little like just it's too easy to do and it's too good for what it is. So, I mean, I love that Adam pulled this stuff out. I think he's really funny. He had a quote that he thinks that there isn't a big skill difference between the EU top laners and the Asian top laners, and I can't wait to see what happens. I
Yeah.
can't wait to see if it's right or
Woo!
wrong. I've
Right?
never been more interested in a BDS match. Honestly, I want to see if I want to see him play Garen against like 369 or that's what they're playing, right? JDG,
Yeah,
I think.
JDG.
I want to see it. I'm like,
Yeah.
please, for the love of God, don't pick Renekton, don't pick Sion, pick Garen, please, or
Yeah.
Darius, or Set, or Olaf. I don't care. Just pick one of these guys, and I want to see what 369 does. I want to
Yeah.
see if 369 does he play like a tank? Does he try to neutralize it? Does he first pick Renekton into it, or do you pick Garen and he picks like Quinn or Vayne Top or something? I want to see where this goes and where this develops if it becomes absolute madness because it's really fun. And I think we didn't mention it. We did talk about PSG a little bit, Team
Hmm.
Wales, BDS. we do have to unfortunately talk a little bit about Golden Guardians. I think we should mention them. They are the LCS team. We
Do
are
we
the
have
LCS.
to?
Yeah, we kind of have to mention
I
them.
almost swept it under the rug.
Yeah,
I
right.
tried, guys. I
Yeah.
tried.
No,
Yeah.
no.
So I'm just gonna mention
Woo!
what the hell they. In my opinion, I thought a lot about this when I watched the match. I actually watched the series twice, trying to figure out what the hell, because they were my favorite team throughout the year. I followed them
Mhm.
closely. They legitimately got worse than their playoff form. I think playoff Golden Guardians, as bad as they were, would have been a better team than that
Mm.
than what we saw. So for all the talk of mental strengths and mental health, I do think their big problem was they mentally collapsed really, really harshly.
Mm.
It sucks. It hurts. Gory and Huhi were on a different planet. Stixay just had no hands, really, if we're thinking about it. Like, I don't know if Stixay was playing like bad in terms of like mental, but he had no hands. He had no
Yeah.
mechanics. But definitely when it comes to like macro and like game sense and like understanding where the enemy jungler is and being in the right place at the right time, Huhi and Gory had nothing. They had zero. They just were completely off sync. And I think River, he really tried his best. But like seriously, how stupid was that? Do you guys remember that level one in game two? Belveth versus Maokai at
Oh
the
yeah.
Raptor pit
Mhm.
for the first 2.5 minutes in the game. That to me is just like you guys. That is tilt right there. You guys had a plan. It doesn't look like the plan's going well, and you're saying we're not adjusting. We're sticking with the plan. We are just sending it. We are going to sit at this Raptor camp until 2.5 minutes in. Um, Golden Guardians, guys, what happened? I'm baffled. I'm sad. Early vacation, right? Literally the fastest airport run in League of Legends history.
That was so fast.
They went home before Worlds even started. It's
Yeah.
insane. So I what the f?
R.I.P.
And to add on
GGS.
to it, it's not like in game two they actually had a huge lead. They had like
They
five,
had a
six
Yeah.
huge
K
lead.
or
Yeah,
five, 4K maybe, and
they
they
had
they were
Soul.
snowballing. They had
Yeah,
Soul coming on and everything, and they actually got Soul, but like they just completely fell over. Corey played like a complete interdog. River didn't play his picks. Like I'm like, okay, you play Belveth and you dance for 2 minutes. You know what happens when Belveth is behind the rest of the map? That he doesn't do shit. It's supposed to be a snowball character. It's supposed to be a tempo character, and you're just sitting there dancing for chickens. Like, is that really worth it?
yeah,
So it was disgusting. I think that Licorice, while he did get schooled in some of those games, he also did like get solo kills and like have positive in that game too, right? He actually did
yeah,
stuff. So like of all the people, like he's the one who lost his mind the least IMO, and then it's River. River just I think he needs to stick to his picks. The thing that disappoints me the most is I actually don't think they got worse from playoffs. I think this is their playoffs form, but they just played against a slightly better team than what they lost to in playoffs. But the issue that disappoints me is that this is the longest you ever get to prepare for your matchup.
Yeah.
It's one
yeah,
best of five. You have one job. And they
yeah.
sat there, and this is what they came up with. They came up with Nico support, and
Mhm.
it looked like who he didn't know how Nico
Oh
worked. They came up with
God.
Amumu support. I'm like, Amumu support in this economy? Like, really? And they got absolutely giga stomped. So all that to say is like they
Don't
cooked too
remind
hard. I
me.
think NA teams might not know how to like they might not need that time because like BDS I was mentioning before on the podcast with Mitchell that BDS Fnatic G2 like a lot of them showed up. I think G2 showed up first, but a lot of them showed up in Korea very late. They took
Mm.
another vacation after their like super late season ending. I was like, wow, like
Yeah.
that's a really bad idea. You can't boot camp, but like I don't know what GGS was doing, so it's like we gave GGS the benefit of the doubt. Where like
Yeah.
Gory was pretty good in Korea, relatively speaking, and maybe he's homesick. Maybe he hasn't been in the Korean solo queue for a while, so he just got worse. No, he's just as bad, if not even more mentally tilted. So I think he's just cannot show up when it matters. Like I think we've seen enough cases of Gory collapsing in important series now. This is the third spring, summer, and world qualifying series. Like this
Mhm.
guy is just not it. He's already gotten a chance on FPX. He's gotten a chance in Korea before. This guy is not legit. He's probably
Ouch.
very good in not scrims. He's really good in tryouts probably.
He's really good up until the time of the year that matters. It's like 80% of the year he's good. But it's
Mhm.
that
Mm-hmm.
20% where the other players can just it doesn't matter. It's like that guy who studies for the test at the last minute and gets a better score than you, even though you studied all year long for it. Um,
He's the
Yeah,
reverse. He's the reverse of Impact.
yeah.
He's
I
like,
mean, yeah, he
yeah,
is.
he's the
Yeah,
reverse.
Impact eats his ass off all year and
Yes,
just shows
but
up.
then
Yeah,
shows up, yeah.
that's
Reverse
true.
Impact. Yeah.
I mean, if you just look at the draft too, like that's such a great point, Kevin. Where it's like they had the most time out of all the teams
Yeah.
at Worlds. Like I think besides China, right?
Mhm.
NA finished the
Yeah.
earliest after, and Golden Guardians got eliminated the earliest of the teams, right? They
Hmm.
had the most time to prepare, and they came up with the most dog shit drafts. Like they were getting outscaled by every draft, like besides their game three, but the game three was already doomed, right? Like
Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I just like to look at, game one especially is the most egregious thing. They have like this weird ass Talia Amumu bullshit, and they're playing against Maokai and Oriana and Rakan and Renekton. Just the most normal, like super easy to execute champions, and they're playing like Callista and Nico Botley. It's like, guys, just play normally. Just play Kaisa. I know you've done it a million times. Just play Kaisa and Maokai. Cassante top is fine, but like they didn't want to
Mhm.
play the normal stuff. They tried to get fancy, and they could not execute even close. Like it is really disappointing to see that this is what they prepared over 2 months. And also, Kevin, I want to make fun of you. Is
Mhm.
that you were saying that they were not is that they were the same. Golden Guardians was the same level as playoffs as they were Worlds. They were just playing as a slightly better team. Well, the team that eliminated Golden Guardians was Team Liquid. You did kind of just call indirectly BDS a better team than Team Liquid. Just saying.
Well, I mean,
Mm.
in the series they were, right? We
Yeah.
saw no, I'm saying
Okay.
legitimately, right? At the power level that Liquid played against GGS, that was like a series, right?
Yeah.
This wasn't a series. This was
Yeah.
a stop. Anyone could objectively say that like BDS played better here than a lot of teams, right? BLG played worse against Golden Guardian, or it was a worse opponent, right? At
Mm.
MSI against this Golden Guardians team, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
But
it's
I
not
think
hard to say because they got Giga Stomped. They got thrown out of the zip code. They got sent home before World started. What else? What else can you say?
well, I mean,
Uh,
I'm saying that Golden Guardians got worse. Like their level of play wasn't as good. So,
I think they've been this bad. I really think they've just been this bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
They faced their kryptonite and they were already this bad, but they faced a team that punishes bad players and tilting players, right?
well, I also think they got punished hard by just having terrible. They punished themselves with their terrible drafts. They had no
That
scaling.
is okay.
They had really hard to execute champs
That
that
is true. Their
that did not.
drafts did get worse. If
Yeah.
that counts as part of the entity of Golden Guardians, then yes, I agree.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
got
yeah.
worse.
They got where they're drafting. They shot themselves in the foot. I definitely think their series against Team Liquid in playoffs. They had good drafts. They just couldn't execute, right? But
That
this
is
one,
very fair.
this one was
I
like
was
very
thinking
tough.
from the POV of like, well, the players were playing about what I expected. Gory was an interdog still. Licorice was good. River was fine, and then like to me, that's what they were in playoffs. But no, you are right. That is a good point. Their
Yeah,
drafts way
their
worse.
drafts got dramatic. Their drafts were like game
Uh,
losing in game one and game two. So,
yeah.
oh well.
Hmm.
Let's move on. We had to bring it up. It is LCS. Now
Well,
we got
we
to.
have
I
to.
don't
I
want to talk
mean,
about them anymore.
we're sending off. It's an RIP to Golden Guardians, but we still have two other teams, and we have
Three other
C9.
teams.
Three other teams. Sorry, C9. We have Team Liquid, and we have NRG. So we still have some hope, right? Out of those matchups, let's start there because we are LCS. Which one do you think has the best chance? And for those
Okay,
listening, if you don't know, it's
let's
T1 versus Team Liquid,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
C9 versus Mad. And then WBG Weibo Gaming versus NRG. Which one do you
Okay.
think we have the best chance in? I'm just gonna say C9 Mad because Mad
Wait,
Lions,
really?
right?
No way.
Because
Really?
Okay, I mean, does anyone disagree? Probably not, right?
We're gonna.
No.
I mean, this is.
Realistically, no.
I'm sending it. I don't care. NA is gonna
Are you,
beat EU. I don't care. I'm just like I'm so
no.
salty that we lost.
They may have
to
won the
BDS.
battle, but we will win the war, daggone
I
it.
don't care. We're winning.
Mad Lions doesn't win best of fives at Worlds, man. That just doesn't happen. So
It's a best of one.
It's a best of one, though.
Fuck.
Yeah,
Oh,
Kevin
I
got
forgot
worried.
'cause it's
Swiss.
Yeah, it's Swiss. It's
I
Swiss.
don't like
Yeah.
Swiss still, but so Swiss is great for the fans in the sense that it's very good for upsets because
Yeah.
it's just a random one-off games that you can cheese, you can do whatever, right? And you won't see them again until way later in
Hmm.
bracket if you do make it. So I don't think it's a great format for teams. It's extremely stressful, but it does give fans one of the best experiences because you're going to get upsets. I think Weibo Gaming versus NRG is the most volatile matchup by
That's
far. We'll
gonna
have
be
the Shy
wild.
versus Dokla, which I think could be a war crime on either end of the spectrum, just
Yeah.
depending on what
Oh,
happens. I
man.
just can't believe we have a sentence like that. Like first seed Doko against fourth seed the Shy at Worlds. Like, dude, okay, can
uh,
we, for the sake of NA, can the first seed be in pool two,
yeah,
please?
please, I'm down.
Like, I'm just so sick of seed one getting treated as the same tier as JDG. Like NRG really just got seeded like JDG. They could have
Oh
played against like
gosh.
Dongwon Gaming, dude.
Yeah.
Anyways, all I say is I think that everyone is thinking. I think C9 Mad is the closest matchup, and I think NRG versus Weibo Game is the most likely matchup to just be like complete out of your expectations. Like NRG could just like completely stomp them, and then Weibo Game is just like bombs out. Right? FPX lost to C9 last year, 2 years
Hmm.
ago, 3
Two
years
years.
ago now. It was a while ago now.
I
It
think it
might
was
have
just
been
2 years ago. It was
2 years ago.
2021.
One,
Yeah, I think.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So all I have to say is like it will happen to a Chinese team. I've accepted it. One of them is a blood sacrifice. I hope it's not JDG, right? I don't think JDG can lose to a really bad team. They could lose to like the really good teams. That's possible. But all I have to say is I think TL did post a tweet last time Pioshik and Core JJ played against T1. What happened, right? uh, which I think was kind of a banger, even though they're going to get destroyed.
Yeah.
T1
Yeah.
T1 has a really great record of not losing to teams that are worse than them, right? They almost never, unless you count flash walls, right? They almost never lose to like wild cards or NAEU. EU G2 being the exception.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that is 100% on point. Yeah, T1 does not lose to bad teams essentially, right? Like you could have BLG drop a game to Golden Guardians and then go around and 3-1 T1 and 3-0 Gen G. That doesn't happen to T1 for over a decade. They do not lose to lower seed teams like besides, of course, Flash Wolves. And G2 I wouldn't even consider in that option, right? G2 was just a genuinely good team back then.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I don't think TL has a chance. If I mean, I think TL can be interesting, but if I'm being honest, like I expect most EU and NA teams, they're just gonna get their floor mopped by T1 from
Yeah.
minute one. So good luck, Pioshik. I mean, this is why we brought Pioshik, right? Isn't this why we got Pioshik to bring him to Worlds? And yeah, guess what? He brought TL to Worlds after missing it last year, and to be a world class jungler at Worlds. Here we are. So I hope we could do something magical there. I would love it if TL would do something against T1, but I'm really expecting TL to have a pretty bad game against Team TLT1. Oh my god, it's terrible. SKT. I'm pretty sure TL is going to have a pretty bad game against SKT, but hopefully get some jitter outs, and I expect TL to do some damage. I've been hearing some good things about TL. I think APA a few weeks ago was the highest boot camp player in Korean
Wow.
solo queue for a hot minute, and most of TL players were up there. So I'm excited. I mean, I mean, APA's laning was the biggest problem, right? So
Hmm.
where are you gonna get good laning practice? That's Korean solo queue. So I hope that TL does something interesting, and I hope that when they get down the road, they continue it. I have not heard good things about C9 or NRG. I don't see them on the Korean solo queue ladders. I don't see. So I watch Casual, and he will just watch pro players. Like he'll
Yeah.
stream for like 10 hours a day, just watch pro players. I almost never see C9 and energy players in those. I do see a lot of TL players. So from last I checked, they're not like low ranked or anything. But I don't know how much Korean solo queue these guys are playing. That's not indicative of how good they're gonna be, but I'm a bit more worried about C9 than energy than maybe TL. I am with TL, just because I've heard more. I've just seen more of Team Liquid.
I
Um,
mean, TL's known for being super grinders, and now they're grinding on the place where ostensibly is the best practice they can get. I mean,
Yeah.
what did that do for Golden Guardians, I guess? But for TL, like a lot of these guys have been on this stage and they've either won worlds very recently or won worlds, in the past against the literal opponent they're playing against right now, both of them.
yeah.
And APA's weakness was his laning. He's actually a very good player. As far as NA standards, NA born players, him and Palafox are some of the best at finding team fights, right? Ever. I think APA is better than Palafox at finding good team fights, actually. But that's outweighed very heavily by his laning phase, putting
Yeah.
him so far behind that he needs to find miracle fights.
Mhm.
So I think this is the best time for him to level up, as long as he can keep his mental. I think the TL organization is just used to being in some of the most tilt-worthy things possible. So like in that vein, I don't think they're that worried. You know, they beat IG when they were like super underdogs. They don't even know why they beat IG. Like when you
Yeah, I
listen
don't
back
think
to them, they're
anybody
like,
knows.
yeah, we didn't expect shit, man.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad you have that positive note. I think MNS is gonna get absolutely bodied though. I think that if he gets bodied by Niski though, that's a problem. But I think later in the stage, he's
Yeah.
gonna get super bodied. I think this guy, he might not even be that bad, but I think his mental is out there. He had that little mini scandal when he was
Yeah.
in EU. Like, what is this guy
Oops.
doing? What is this guy doing? How are you telling people to go back to their place as you're an import? Like, I really just don't understand.
Yeah.
So I think C9, while it's closest on paper, I think C9 is actually not favored as well, just because there's a lot of bad juju. I didn't think Fudge has ever like really impressed me at Worlds either.
Yeah.
So
Except his rookie year. I thought Fudge was great in his rookie year. I thought he was a great
well,
player.
it wasn't his rookie year though, right? Because he already played at Worlds on
On
in NA.
O's.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, NA.
Then
Yeah.
a rookie his first
I
year
thought
in
you were talking
C9.
about for Dire Worlds. I was like, what? They
No,
were
no, no.
bad.
No, no, no. I meant like yeah, his first MSI and his first Worlds are
I'm
pretty
being
good that
silly.
year with perks and
Well,
stuff.
That's a good point.
I mean, with Team Liquid, it's crazy because even before this season started in spring, the rumors were that they were boot camping in Korea and doing really well, and then they just came out kind of flat, you know. But the promise or the hope was that they were having an all Korean speaking team and the Korean work ethic of grinding all the time, and they've held that true even throughout the season and even apparently now, right? So it's hard not to get hype for them when you hear like the work that they're putting into it. And hearing these good things about APA really gets me hopeful. I'm just hoping that it actually pays off because, sometimes even in other sports, like you can drill, practice, but sometimes it doesn't translate into the game for whatever reason. And I'm hoping that's not the case because I'm getting hype hearing all this stuff about Team Liquid because I want them to do well, and I think they have a
They're
chance.
so
We've
ass.
got a lot of experience, right? Like international.
If you get hyped with
Well, that is true. That is true, Kevin. I probably shouldn't have done that to your team.
Every time
By
they get hyped,
that, yeah.
Dirk's and Led team doesn't make
Oh,
Worlds.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. But no, that's. I mean, like they have a lot of experience too, right? Internationally with Core and and Chip Piosik. So
Chick.
I don't know. We'll see if there's anything there. But the
Three-
thing. Go ahead.
Well, 3 of them have never been to Worlds ever.
That's true.
And,
So yeah.
Summit,
So it is kind
Eon,
of put
and AP
together.
have
Yeah.
literally never been to an international tournament.
Yeah. No, that's true. But I mean, and what's interesting about this one is like we don't really know what the schedule is going to look like because it all depends on who wins tomorrow's game and then who wins after that. And so it's going to be kind of surprising to see how it develops, and we won't really get to recap anything until next episode. But is there any last things that you wanted to point out in the matchups that we do see, or any possible meta things that you think you might see, or just anything in general? Yeah, go ahead.
Let's just solidify our predictions and give a little snippet about why. So,
Okay, yeah.
let's just go T1 versus Team Liquid, SKT versus Team Liquid. God damn it, it's so hard to say. Who's winning? Why? Just a little quick snippets.
I mean,
anything interesting you think can pop it up. I'll go first. Unfortunately, T1's going to take it. I do think it's going to be a schlocking. I think it's going to be an absolute
schlocking.
Yeah, I actually think Summit's going to try and get pretty big lane leads. I imagine Summit's going to get counter pick of some sort. If I actually don't know what the side selection is, but I think T1's higher seed. I think they get choice, which means they're blue side. So TL probably gets red side. That's just my guess. I think Summit will get a counter pick. I think he'll do something spicy. I think he will get leads and you'll get ahead. And I think that bot lane is going to get completely rolled. I think Gumayushi is going to smurf on our. And then that's my prediction.
You cut out, but I'm very scared of what he was smurfing upon.
That's funny.
We'll just leave it to the match.
It's perfect. I will say that T1 will win too. I think it's actually kind of scary because I think Summit is one of the best laners in the West of just like players who are representing the West. But I mean, he's against Zeus, dude. I don't actually think even with counter pick, I think he will do positive, but I don't think he'll smurf on him. I think
he
that's
won't smurf on him. No.
Oh, okay. We're on the same page then. Yeah,
He'll just
I think
get
T1
alive.
will win. I think Liquid will probably look reasonable, and then they will collapse when it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably lose the first dragon fight or something, and then game over, or first rift trail fight. Oh,
I
Mitchell,
mean,
GG.
this is pretty quick for me. I mean, as much as I'm hype on TL, like I just think Team T1's gonna win that. So, I mean,
Yep.
just the better team, and like you said, they don't lose to teams that are not as good as them. So to me, that's not too hard. But let's go to C9 Mad. Again, I think people think this might be close. I'm worried. I think C9's gonna win, but I'm worried. I think C9's gonna win. And I'm only basing this on the last time I've seen them. I don't know in this time, did they get better? Did they not get better? It's kind of worrying that you haven't seen really any of them on the ladder Korean solo queue. So that has me worried. I'm just going to trust in their systems, man, and say that that's going to be enough. And just the history that Matt has in Worlds. Hopefully that will, work in our favor. So I'm going C9 on that one.
I'm going C9 on this one too, but this was the one I almost voted for the other side. Mad Lions just had a really bad end to the season. I think in general, just were not, in my opinion at least, I think they kept on getting shellacked by a lot of different teams. They just kept not doing well in playoff series, and I think they were carried by a very good start to the season and a very acceptable middle season. So that's why they made it to Worlds. I don't think this team is even that good, but I think our mid lane is bad, and I think the Berserker will gap. So I think Berserker is much better than Carsey. So that's my hope.
Yeah, I'm pretty afraid for this match too. I think reasonably so. I think Golden Guardians versus BDS, I was a little fearful. I just wasn't willing to actually vocalize it too much. But since it happened, since we saw it, I
Yeah.
am gonna vocalize my fears very heavily. I'm afraid C9 is going to pick a dog shit draft. I think they're going to pick a bunch of early game high execution champions, and Mad Lions is just going to pick scaling easy meta stuff, and we're just going to get rolled. That's my fear. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope we just pick good stuff. That's not like can we just not pick Callista, man? Like, can we just
Yeah.
give Berserker Kaisa or Zaya for the love of God? Just give him a good ADC. Don't give him Callista or anything supportive. Like, no Ezreal, please. Like, I hope that we can actually focus on Berserker. But I know C9. We're gonna give counter pick to top lane or mid lane. We're gonna pick something stupid. Like we're either gonna blind pick Renekton and then give some spicy counter pick to mid lane or vice versa. I just hope we don't do that, right? I really hope that we just play normally. We don't try to be unique and special because I do think if C9 plays normally and we just play around how everybody else is playing, which is stable top side into winning bot, that's literally how all the best teams in the world play. I think we win, right? But we know C9 doesn't like to do that. They like to play for their solo laners in a bot focused meta for some reason.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think C9, if they play around Berserker, I think they win. I think they're a way better team. But I mean, unfortunately, see, here's the thing about Mad Lions is they don't care. Like they will just fight you. They'll just throw it. They'll engage. They'll just team fight you. They will just go, go, go. So if you
Hmm.
don't have so even if you're technically a better team, if you don't have the comp, if you don't have a team fighting comp at Dragon, Bad Lions, they don't give a shit. They're just gonna run at you. They're just gonna
Yeah.
fight. They're like, it's Dragon time, we fight, and they'll have a team fighting comp, and maybe they'll lose in lane here and there, but they will team fight you. So C9, just pick scaling, please, or pick a decently scaling draft, and they'll win. I genuinely think they'll win enough with that.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go
All right.
C9, but
Let's go Gen G Gam. I think for me this is, again, I'm just going based off roster here. Gen G it is for me. Gam I think was
oh yeah,
okay, but I'm just gonna be quick and sweet, and Gen G is my pick.
okay, yep, definitely.
Is Gen G? They're one of the best teams in the world.
Yeah.
Still, even though they will tilt in best of five later, that's not close.
Yeah, Gen G, yeah.
Gam
Okay.
only won because they were against Wales in their they still look super shaky, guys. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next one we can throw out pretty quick too, right? BS
VDS JDG. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think this is JDG here.
Actually,
Oh,
I think this is
Kevin?
one of the funniest matches that could possibly happen at World. I think that Nuclear In against Knight is going to be truly Nuclear In. I think that Adam will truly, he could smurf on 369 and it'd be the 333, right? Like we haven't seen the 3 of 369 in a long ass time. But I mean, and no one knows what he's doing, right? But it doesn't matter. Even if he smurfs on 369, I think they're going to absolutely get clobbered. Ruler is is like 4 crownies. Like you could literally have 4 crownies play, and I don't think Ruler would lose. Okay, that's all I have to say.
I think JDG could AFK for the first 5 to 10 minutes and probably still win this game. Legitimately, like they could fall so far behind, but if they just get Ruler like a mythic and a decent ADC champion, sorry, you guys can't kill him. Like you
Yeah.
need like BDS would need to pick like Vi Nautilus and shit, like to kill Ruler. Like
Yeah.
he just has way too good positioning, and the enemy doesn't have hands. Yeah, I just want to see Chatham play Garen and solo kill
Yeah,
dudes.
that'll
That's
be.
all I'm
I
looking
think.
for.
I think it'll be a fun matchup. I still think it'll be pretty one-sided for
Yep.
JDG's favor. Okay, what about G2 versus Damwon?
Oh, this is a classic.
Mm.
World's picks are definitely rigged. This just can't keep.
I
up.
know, right? I know,
I
right?
love it.
Times, and one time G2 didn't make it to Worlds. And someone mentions really quickly in the comments that Damwon that year did so well that the year before that's why Korea got 4 seeds, and that's why G2 who got 4th didn't go to Worlds. So
Yeah.
Damwon is really
Mm.
good. They're 2-1 right now officially. I want G2 to come back. I think this is doable. I think Damwon's actually very shaky. If you don't watch the league, yeah, the names are there, but no. Damwon's actually quite shaky. I want G2 to do it. They're technically the underdog, but I'm voting for them.
Yep,
Okay.
I'm voting for G2 as well. I mean, also G2 did get cursed by China, right, and Korea. I think multiple players have come out in interviews saying G2 is surprisingly good, a very unique team, and good in scrims. So they got the curse. You know,
Mhm.
Asia, we know what you're doing. Okay, you do it every year.
Yeah.
Wow, Bjergsen and Dublin looking pretty good
Very
this year.
smart. Well played.
So,
Hashtag GG is the best LeBlanc.
yeah.
Well
Yikes.
played.
Oh, that's an old one, man. That's
Yeah,
from
it is.
GQ. But yeah, I'm
That's where the curse first set in, man.
I'm excited for G2. I'm rooting for them. I think they can do some damage this year. I think that they are by far the best of the Western teams, the only Western team that can compete with Asian teams. I think they can beat Damwon. Damwon is looking very shaky, but we already know, right? Showmaker's looking like garbage all year long, and he's about to pop off this World. Like he
Yeah.
always comes back at Worlds. It's when it matters, is when Showmaker shows up, right? So I think it's gonna be a fun match. I'm excited. Both teams like to pull out weird, spicy stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. This one's hard for me. I'm pulling for G2, so I'm gonna say them because I want them to win. But I think this is actually a pretty good matchup, and I'm excited to see it. What about Weibo Gaming versus NRG?
Energy, just call it.
I'm gonna say Weibo Gaming just because you know.
Oh, I see
Wink,
wink,
wink.
wink.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know what I
I'm
mean?
gonna say Weibo
I mean,
Gaming
come
too.
on. Weibo Gaming has they have the Shy, they have Xiaohu, Karsa. There's no way Energy is gonna
It's not Karsa,
It
it's
beat
should be
that.
Wei Wei, I hope.
It's Wei
Oh
Wei.
wait, it's not. Yeah, it's Wei. Yeah, it's Wei Wei. That's
Karsa's
right.
dead.
Karsa's dead. Yeah, you're right.
I think Light was good last year. I think he's still
Yeah.
good. It's Weibo Gaming, dude.
Yeah, it's- yeah.
Xiaohu, even if the Shy and Xiaohu is a giga beast. He's a monster. He's legitimately one of the best players that like has never. won
Xiaohu
Worlds.
at Worlds XD.
My word. My word.
I
It's
mean,
on
even
MSI.
Last year he played well, even though their team didn't, get that far. So
Their team got COVID, so I guess you can't really say much about last year.
So
But
it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I mean,
think Xiaohu is so good.
he is very good. He is very good. Okay, I'll vote for Weibo Gaming, but I have some. I think Energy is the worst team at this tournament. Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
terrible,
Like, I
dude.
have no hopes for Energy at
No
all
way.
this year. I really think they're not gonna win anything. They might even like lose in the World Finals. I don't know.
I know. Yeah, no, I think
Anyways,
I think
let's move
so.
on. Let's move on quick.
No, you're
Quick,
sure. Okay, what about LNG versus Fnatic?
Yeah, yeah, LNG. We can just
Yeah.
And
LNG.
Fnatic
Okay,
is so
good.
apt.
Okay, B.
Incredible.
Yeah.
they're
LNG
really good.
basically almost beat JG guys.
LNG
Yeah,
is
they are nice.
JDG like 90% of no.
It's math. It's math. Okay.
Yeah.
BLG versus KT.
This is a fun one.
This
Yeah,
is one of the
I
best
thought-
matches.
I don't
actually.
really know here either.
I think it's BLG, dude. BLG still Giga stomped all of Korea last time, and those were the top 2 seeds right here. So I think BLG is still legit. I just think they have to play in the hardest league, so it's unfortunate for them.
Yeah, KT is very similar to NRG, where if you vote for KT, it doesn't actually happen, like ever. So it's kind of an interesting one too, where KT is such a good team, but is once again, yeah. So I'm gonna go BLG. I'm gonna go BLG. I think they're both very good teams. I think it's gonna be a really fun match.
Yeah, I don't really know in this one, so I'm just gonna pick one and say BLG. That's
Wow.
really just how I'm gonna go for
Good
it.
predictions, guys. We all
Good
think predicted the
predictions.
same team.
Pretty much. No. I mean, I
You were
picked.
saying NRG, and then you came with me with Weibo. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, well, that's
Uh,
because I
yeah,
remembered. League Dad was
yeah,
right. No, I had to. I remember.
exactly. They're not the only ones that could play these tactics with the
Yes,
curses.
true.
You know what I'm saying? We can
True.
use those to our
We
advantage
can
too.
use it
So
against them.
that's right, exactly. All right. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up? It's about to start finally. I'm actually hyped now because it's actually beginning. So any final thoughts?
Yeah, go ahead.
My final thoughts are that it's best of one. It's Swiss, so if there is an upset, get excited. Definitely keep it, especially if it's us winning. And
Yeah, heck
but
yeah.
if your favorite team loses day one, it doesn't mean that much, guys. It
Yeah.
really doesn't, because it's really just first to 3 wins or first to 3 losses. It's very simple format in that sense. So losing one, actually losing one could mean you're against the loser of KT versus BLG.
Oh
But
God, I know.
Yeah.
upsets will destroy everything. Will ruin
Yeah.
everything, and like a monster will go to the lower bracket. So it's gonna be very funny, but it doesn't mean your team's bad, even if they go down like 0-2. They could literally go 0-2, and they just lost to like BLG, and then they lost to KT or something like that, or Gen G or some shit like that. Whatever the upsets are.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm also gonna say this is just a quick help to all of our Western teams. I don't want to see Callista, I don't want to see Lee Sin, and I don't want to see Renekton. I think those champs are dog. I think that if an Asian team plays them against us, we'll get creamed. But if
Yeah.
we play them,
Sure.
not down. Let's
Exactly.
pick scaling solid
Scale.
meta. I want to see Sejuani and Maokai every
Let's
game.
go.
Coach, yes, coach.
Yes, we got you.
Give me some Rakan and some Zaya and some Kaisa. That's it. All right. That's
Yeah.
the draft code.
It's pretty funny because I've been doing a lot of basketball coaching now, and you try to teach these kids, let's get the easy shot, make the extra pass while you're open. No, they'd rather do a step back jumper 3-pointer with a hand in their face because
Imagine living here on the West Coast. They do that by that's just like part of their DNA.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
It's like, they just want to show off the skill. So I guess it translates even to esports. So that's good to know, I guess. But yeah. That's going to do it for us. Thank you to Kevin and Mitchell for sharing their wise thoughts on all of this stuff. A lot of stuff going on, but I hope you guys out there are excited as we are for Worlds to begin. And we'll definitely be back next week to recap all the action. But until next time, enjoy your climb on the Rift. Try not to be too toxic. And we'll see you all in the next episode. Peace.